Hey guys, Jason here with Phase Shift Games. Just wanted to quickly celebrate with you all. It's a great feeling to reach a major milestone. We told you we were in the process of transitioning all the digital files for our latest Kickstarter over to China. That is now 100% done, and it's just a really good feeling. This project was massive in terms of scale and size compared to the first Kickstarter. Darren and I were just like comparing our notes, a few nights ago. We are like sitting back and just looking at everything. We're like, this really was about 4 times the amount of work that we had to do compared to the first campaign. The reason why, the first campaign, we had one game, Dungeon Drop, and then we had a couple of mini expansions, which most of you know are a card and a couple cubes. Very simple. We didn't have mats. We didn't have walls. We didn't have the big box. We didn't have an expansion and an expansion for the expansion. All this other stuff that kind of grew, which is so awesome that the franchise of Dungeon Drop has grown to the level that it has. But this campaign included Drop Too Deep, which is a full expansion, and that game box includes many more systems and rules and component types compared to the original box. Like, in other words, Drop Too Deep is actually more complex from a production standpoint than the base game was. There are different types of cubes. There were a lot of different types of cubes in the base game, but the complexities of all the different types of components coming together. We had the second printing upgrade pack. We had the concept of huge monsters. It's a new deck of cards. It's 11 huge cubes with all different screen printing on each one. So even though there's less cubes overall, there were more types of cubes and components in this box. Then the second printing upgrade pack that's inside it, it has to be shrunk wrapped separately. And it was, a bunch of the original cards that we had to update to the new printing. That was the whole point. Plus the original rule books that we had to upgrade. and so even just in that one box, we had the full expansion, and then we almost had to recreate everything from the original box with the second printing piece. It was just big. And that's just Drop Too Deep. Then we built into the campaign a brand new game, Tavern Tales, and we pushed that to the max. You guys have seen a lot of what we've done with this game. We really pushed that to a super premium level. Anything we put out, we're not going to waste our time on something that we don't care about 110%. So Tavern Tales is a perfect example of something. It started as a really simple idea, and we developed it with Gregory into this amazing game. All the different stretch goals and component upgrades. We now have the dual thickness tiles with the indentations for the room cards that go inside. It's just so awesome. That was a full game added into the campaign. Then Wizards and Spells, this brand new thing that we didn't even plan on when the campaign started. It's now a full expansion with its own box, its own 12-page rulebook, a bunch of new cubes and cards, and the bag with embroidery. Like, we put so much work into that. So that was a third huge thing in and of itself. And then the word huge, the big box, the treasure trunk. It may seem simple because it's just a box, right? It's just air. How hard can it be? Well, first of all, it's a massive canvas from an artwork perspective, and that takes time. We can't just put the same texture on that box and slap a couple characters on it like we could maybe on the smaller box. Each side only has one character and the texture of the dungeon, which looks really great on the small box. You do that same thing on this gigantic box and it would look really strange. So it took a lot more care and feeding. We had to create different, effects with light rays and stuff like that. We had to come up with different color schemes and, build in more characters and artwork and bits and pieces. Then it has the game trays, and we had to figure out the design of those. And then it has the card dividers, and the list goes on and on and on. And that's the fourth big thing. And then there were still new mini expansions. There's the new limited promo pack. There's the Trials and Tools contest winner that we built in. And that mini expansion is more in depth than any previous mini expansion because it has 2 different rules cards and a game card, so like 3 cards in total, and the cubes, and so on and so forth. All I can say is, as we sit back, the sense of accomplishment that we feel is unreal. And so a very heartfelt thank you to everyone that's watching, the 7,000 plus backers from the original campaign, the 4,000 plus backers from this campaign, that includes our pre-orders. Just a massive response that we've gotten. You feed us. You feed us emotionally, and you keep us going and keep us on this amazing path that we're on as Phase Shift Games. Darren and I are just, we feed off of your energy and, you know, all the involvement and engagement that you all have with us during the campaigns and after. There's a bunch of you that join us on our Discord channel. And by the way, we invite everyone here, if you want to chat with us kind of in real time during the days, during the evenings, we're on there all the time. And there's a bunch of fans that just join us there. And we talk about games of ours, we talk about other people's games. We're like, well, hey, what do you play? I just played a game of Santorini with my wife and took some pictures and posted it there. And someone else was talking about It's a Wonderful World, It's a Wonderful Life, another great game that's out there. And, you know, we just kind of chat about all these things. Then when we have updates like new rule books or ideas that we want to bounce off people, we put them in Discord first. So if you want to be part of that kind of dialogue with us, please, by all means, join us. If you go to the campaign page, all the way at the bottom are all of our social links, and one of them is the Discord social link, so feel free to join us there. So it has been an amazing ride. Our ride is by no means complete. This is just a major milestone. Many more milestones to come. We told you all before, we've told you right along, we've been very transparent, that global shipping delays are rampant, and you're probably hearing this from all publishers. If you do Kickstarters with others, if you're backing other projects, you're probably hearing the same thing. There's stuff that's out of our control, and in our last update, we were very clear. Like, from everything we can tell, there will be a delay. I don't know what that delay is going to be. Again, these are things out of our control. There were already global shipping issues just because of the pandemic and all the supplies that people were purchasing that needed to be created in China, put on boats, shipped overseas. Like, this whole thing has a massive domino effect on the world, the whole global economy. This has nothing to do with just the tabletop industry. So that was already a major problem. And then this boat in the Suez Canal that got lodged sideways. Can one boat really affect the global shipping lanes and economy? Absolutely. I said this in my last update. It's unreal how much that one boat, I was going to say one little boat, it's actually not. It's a gigantic boat. But, I mean, literally hundreds and hundreds of shipping carriers had to be diverted outside of that area to get around. What does that mean? That means they had to circumnavigate Africa, an entire continent, to get around a different way. I mean, this is a massive impact. Anyway, this is, I don't know if you're interested in this kind of stuff or not. Maybe follow the news, but these are the things that we have to pay attention to, because these have an impact, and it's going to be a ripple effect that's going to impact us for some time to come. What does this ultimately mean? What it ultimately means is at some point, our manufacturer in China is going to say, Phase Shift, good news, we're done. Here's all the stuff. When can you pick it up? And our answer will be, we have no idea, because we're at the mercy of all of this other shipping stuff. And we have logistics companies that will work. I mean, we're not going to say we have no idea. We'll have an answer for them, but unfortunately the answer may be it's going to be delayed a bit. We have to, wait for the boats that have the right containers, that have availability within the containers. And again, these are things we don't own or control. We're at the mercy of our logistics companies. So we'll keep you posted. But the good news is, we have done all of our part, everything we can do to keep things moving. Oh, and of course, the other big impact to us directly was with Darren when half of his house burned down, which he's still living out of an apartment with his whole family. And so every bit of work that he's had to do, which is all the graphic design stuff for all of this, all the boxes and the layouts and card artworks and all that, card layouts. He didn't do the artwork, but all of that he's been doing in the middle of a small little apartment area while his kids are screaming all over the place and his wife's there. Like, you know, not to say that, like, it's just families are families, right? They're loud. And so this is his life for many months to come, and for the last 2 to 3 months, whenever it happened some time ago. So he's been doing all this work in this really less than ideal situation. So shout out to Darren for persevering through that and pushing hard. I mean, he really pushed super hard to keep us on track so that we weren't the source of any delays coming out of China. You know, he really put a formidable effort in despite all the challenges that he's been facing. So thank you to Darren for all of that. But in the end, unfortunately, other delay impacts outside of our control are likely going to have an effect here. So with that, again, major milestone. We're thrilled. I'm going to crack open a bottle of scotch tonight and have a nice glass. Hope you can all join me in whatever your drink of choice is. Raise a glass with us because we are just so stoked with how this whole project has gone. What you are going to see when you unbox everything is going to be so exciting. I mean, I hesitate to say like that, you know, Dungeon Drop was V1. I feel like everything that you're about to see come out of this campaign is really V2, version 2. It's refined to a new level. And that's why we were so, it was so important to us to give you all that second printing upgrade pack, because we didn't want you to have version 1 and now you start to feel like, you know, it doesn't quite use the same language and consistency and you know, all of our any updates to our graphic design or anything. We didn't want you to feel like you had a misjointed set of components. You now have everything that's up to date with the latest and greatest, and it feels so just so perfectly aligned. Everything comes together and gels so well. The wizards and spells, the boxes is exactly the same size as the Dungeon Drop box, just 1/4 the width or the depth. So it's the same footprint, length and width, but the height is a little different, and it just feels like it's like a clamshell, just goes together perfectly. And the way all the rules work together, and the updated races and classes and quests, and then the addition of the group goals and the spells and the huge monsters, like just everything comes together in this really sublime way. It's really, really exciting to have been given the opportunity to develop the game beyond just version 1. There's so many Kickstarters out there, first-time creators, and they do a good job, but that's it. Like, you know, the game maybe doesn't do well enough to push it to that next tier. And by God, we push this thing to the next tier and possibly further. And we're not stopping here. Where Dungeon Drop will go, where the next game, Drop Drive, which you've started to maybe see some advertisements on that, you'll see more. That game, that's a brand new game, science fiction based, has a drop mechanic, but it's very different. I can't wait to start getting into that with you all. And then we have 2 to 3 other games that on the back burner. It's not even back burner, just side work that we're doing to get those prepared. We got some great things in the works. I'm really, really excited. Working with Scott Smith. Some of these new games are actually his designs. They're just other game designs. So he's the designer of Dungeon Drop. So you're going to see more of his brain power brought to these games. And so on. So we got some great things on the horizon. I'm going to end with a short video that came in from our manufacturer. They enhanced the game trays, which are in the treasure trunk. You're going to see that they now have a snapping lid, and I think you can see the divider in the center, so you see the 2 compartments in each game tray. It's still not final because the stamp on the top is going to be our swirl instead of the full logo, and the edges, I think, haven't been peeled up yet, so there's still going to be some improvements, but you'll see that this is already a good improvement over the previous one. All right, well, this video already turned out to be longer than I intended. I just want to say thank you all so much. Thank you to my partner, Darren. Thank you to the game designers, Scott Smith and Gregory Skolnick. We have had an amazing ride with you all so far, and we can't wait to show you what's yet to come from Phase Shift Games. Thank you all so much. Good night.